And I'm so glad that you're here for the sharing today. I hope that you would feedback to us. Well, although I am an insider, and there are many from the tourism industry, but sometimes it's even harder for us to see clearly if we are an insider. If you also have your perspective, please feel free to share with me. Well, first, thank you for the organizer inviting me to here. I am Fanny, and I am the Executive Director of TIC. If you are from the industry, I think you know it well. I am the Executive Director. When I first started to work, I started in the tourism industry. I have been the airline company, booking system, as well as hotels. I also work at the tourism board, and now I am with TIC. Well, perhaps because of these experiences, Jeff and Incu-Lab has invited me to talk to you all. Well, first of all, perhaps I can give you some background. Although we have many insiders here today, I still want to give you some background of TIC. We have established for 47 years. We started in 1978. 10 years after our establishment, tourism have just started to flourish. In 1988, TIC is commissioned by the government to do some supervision. Previously, be it the travel agencies or the tour guide, there is no supervision. So we are a regulatory body. That was in 1988. We mainly focus on the regulatory for outbound travel. There are some history about our seats at functional constituency. Later on, we have established a body focusing on the guide leading Hong Kong tourists to other countries. They do need a license. Since then, since 1999, there is such regulation saying that if I am to lead a certain group of Hong Kong tourists to other countries, I do need to have a license. That was starting from 1999. In year 2002, we also start to talk about inbound travel. We only talk about outbound and inbound travel. Starting from 2002, we started to regulate on some inbound travel as well. Because of that, licensing system for the local tour guide. Therefore, in year 2004, both outbound and inbound travel are supervised by us. And we hope that our rights can be safeguarded as well as the rights of our clients. We have continued in this role since the 1st of September 2022. Our regulatory position has suspended. Well, is it true that we don't need regulations anymore? I think it's not true. Starting from the 1st of September 2022, the government has set up an official regulatory body, and it is a fully funded organization by the government. This fully funded organization will take over all the regulations and licensing function. As for us, we can become a chamber of commerce from then on. And our mission is to help the industry to look for new development and to talk to different stakeholders to express our requests and needs. and we're talking about the establishment of Travel Industry Authority in the 1st of September 2022. And because of that, my presentation today will both cover inbound and outbound travel, because we have close ties with different stakeholders, with people in the industry. There are a lot of experiences that we can share. So let me first dive into the first part of my sharing. I want to give you some latest updates about our industry. Let's talk about inbound tourists. This is the statistics of this year 2024, from January to October. These are some open data. So from January to October, the total number of inbound tourists is 36.7 million. So there are some ups and downs. In July, August, and September, especially in September, we are dropping quite drastically. However, in October, we are bouncing back. So this is the statistic from January to October. I told you we have 36.7 million inbound tourists. So is it good or bad? We have to compare with last year, that is 2023. In 2023, January to October, year on year, we have a 37% of increase. Well, you might think that is great, right? Because 37% of growth is huge. However, if you compare the latest statistics with the statistics before COVID, that is in 2018, although COVID started only early 2020, but if you still remember, in 2019, we have some social unrest starting from the second half of that year. So we do not compare the stats in 2019, we will just focus on 2018. So if we compare the statistic January to October 2018, we are only up to 70%. Okay, if you say 70%, so are we bouncing back to 70%? If you are looking at the numbers only, that is true. But you know there are different difficulties as businessmen. Even inbound travel is not bouncing back up to 70% of 2018. If you are in the industry, perhaps you can share even more. As I said, we have 36.7 million of inbound tourists. We have the stat by November as well. It is not officially released. In November, I think we have over 40 million inbound tourists from January to November. If that is the case, then by December, normally December is a peak season of tourists in Hong Kong. By the end of 2024, that is the 31st of December, I trust that the number of tourists can be up to 45 to 46 million. It matches with our mid-year estimates. And of course, recently, the central government is giving us another big gift. They are allowing mainland residents to have one permit for multiple entries. So this is our inbound tourist figure at the moment. So what are the distributions? I think, as you are aware, mainland tourists are taking up a huge proportion. It's about 70% of the total tourists. For overseas tourists, they are taking about 23%. It's quite a huge difference, right? Well, but before the COVID, that is in 2018, the discrepancy was even bigger. Mainland tourists is up to 79 or 80% of our total inbound tourists. It is as expected. So there isn't much change. So if we compare this figure with last year, how are we doing? Let's talk about mainland tourists Compared with 2023 year-on-year, we have a 33% of increase. As for overseas tourists, we have an increase for 54%. In general, we have 37% of increase. In other words, the increase of mainland tourists is not up to the average growth because we have greater increase of overseas tourists. But since the base is smaller, so the impact isn't as much. If we compare the statistic with that of 2018, then back then, mainland tourists was up to 69%, while overseas tourists was up to 72% in 2018. Before social unrest and COVID, we have a total of 65 million inbound tourists. If we really have 45 million inbound travel, then it is still falling short than that of 2018. As mentioned, if you look at mainland tourists, well, in this October during the Golden Week, the increase is quite substantial. We have up to 4 million tourists, so it's quite a good figure. As for overseas tourists, although we see an increase for 54%, you need to consider something. A few days back, if you heard from the news, you would know that in the Philippines, we have the millions of tourists arriving Hong Kong, and the director of TD also received them at the airport. For Thailand, the inbound tourists from Thailand already exceed the figure before COVID. However, for Japan, Korea, Taiwan, the number is quite low comparing with 2018. I think for Japanese tourists, it's only up to 40% before COVID. And also from long-hauled inbound tourists. Well, but of course, there are different reasons. So the number is still not up to the previous standard, but mainly it's because of our flight capacity. If you look at business travelers, the number is just so-so. Before COVID, Hong Kong is still a financial center. But nowadays, business travelers was so much more before COVID. We do not have an actual number because normally it is being collected through questionnaire. But if you are talking about the trend, I would say that the rebound of business travelers is much slower. Let's talk about other statistics. I will just share with you verbally for other statistics. First, let's talk about the flight number. As of October this year, the resumption of flight numbers is 75% before COVID. According to AA, by the end of December, it will resume to 80% of 2018. Well, if you are aiming at 100%, you have to wait until mid-next year. In this policy address, the Chief Executive has mentioned that we have to strengthen our flight numbers and to add new destinations. It is one of the highlights in this policy address. I believe it is very important. Hong Kong International Airport is an airport hub. What do we mean? You need to have good network. You need to be able to reach multiple spots so that you will be able to take a transit via Hong Kong, and that is how you can call yourself a hub. At the moment, there are some surrounding countries, including Dubai and the Middle East. They have very good connections. Likewise, is Singapore. So we need to increase our flight numbers and to expand our networks. On the one hand, we need to allow flights for tourists to go in and out. Transit service is also a key element of our industry. With this, we will be able to sustain our position as an airport hub. So this is what we have been fighting from the government. As we can see, be it mainland China or Southeast Asia, or even Northeast Asia like Japan and Taiwan, we have 80% or above of short-haul travel. In 2024, flight tickets is much cheaper compared with 2023 because supply has increased. For long-haul flight, it is still just about 60%. So it still takes time to catch up. That is part of the reason why our long-haul tourism is slow in returning. Next, hotel accommodation. If you look at 2024, by the end of this year, do you know how many hotel rooms do we have in total? Do you know how many hotel rooms we have on a daily basis? Just a wild guess. 20 to 30,000. Well, actually, 20 to 30,000 is many years ago. Nowadays, we have 92,000 of rooms. If we have 100% occupancy of hotels, we need to sell out 92,000 rooms. It is quite difficult indeed. Before COVID, let me say, before 2018, we have 81,000 rooms, but now we have 92,000 rooms. We have a total of 330 hotels in Hong Kong. As for hotel room, it's up to 92,000, and we target at 100% occupancy. I think you have heard of that. Tourists are not coming to Hong Kong because hotel accommodation in Hong Kong is expensive. Surely, if you compare Hong Kong with Thailand and other Southeast Asian countries, truly it's expensive. But if you have been to Singapore, it's even more expensive. But people still go there. So this is something that we need to reflect about. The price of hotel accommodation this year has dropped from 2023, and it has dropped quite a bit. If you compare the figure in quarter 2, we have dropped by 8%. If we compare Q3 to Q2, we have a decrease of 8%. If you compare Q2 with Q1, we have a 16% of decrease. So the hotel rooms are more expensive in 2023. At the beginning of 2023, that was the beginning of the border reopen. That is the 6th of February 2023. So everything surged in price. If people come to Hong Kong, they will stay for long because they haven't been back to Hong Kong for a long period. They need to do the traveling documents, etc. Consumption per head is up to 9,000. It is a record high. But you know, it is not a true tourist phenomenon. The only reason is that they haven't been to Hong Kong a long time. And once they come, there are many things they need to do. If they need to buy things from Hong Kong, they are buying the amount of years all at once. Therefore, everybody is happy in 2023, but it only lasts for less than 6 months. Very soon, we return to normalcy. Therefore, price of hotel rooms have also dropped. If they stay in a hotel, then surely they are overnight tourists. 40% of mainland tourists are staying overnight. Comparing with 2018, the level is more or less the same. In 2018, 39% of mainland tourists will stay overnight. For those coming from other countries, they will usually stay overnight. Let's look at their consumption. In 2018, we have a lot of Chinese tourists, and they are all big spenders. In 2018, overnight mainland tourists per head is of average of $7,000. As for overseas tourists, their spending is about $5,700. So how about 2024? Because of the economy in mainland, the way people spend money has become different. When mainland tourists come to Hong Kong, the spending is around $4,700 per head. For the overseas tourists, in 2018, they are only spending $5,700, but now in 2024, they are spending $6,700. Tourists from other markets are spending more than the mainland tourists. So that's what we would like to share with you. So we have only covered about inbound traveling. How about outbound traveling? What are the indicators? We have these two items as a reference, telling us about the trends of outbound travel. Sometimes people are just in transit, so we won't calculate everything. The first one is the stamp duty. So let me test you. What is it? Travel agencies will have two outbound fare. This is to secure the tourists. In case the travel agencies is out of business, they are still protected. Well, it is. If I am a tourist, if I purchase an outbound travel product, including transportations, air tickets, ferry ticket, etc. The second item is accommodation. If you book for a local tour, if you are purchasing two products out of this category, you have to pay for this duty. And as Catherine said, if you have any accidents, then there will be a compensation of up to 90%. Or if the travel agency was out of business, there will also be compensation for you. So this is an indicator for us. Second, we have to look at the air ticket number because it will tell us very accurately about the amount of outbound travel. So there are some air tickets issued by the travel agencies. So this is a central government, a central system. So we need to compare these two figures in order to find out our outbound tourist figures. We are only looking at the air ticket for express rail. If they have purchased express rail and an accommodation, then they need to pay levy.
咁好啦，嗱睇睇呢一個印花稅嘅徵費嗰度啦。嗱，我哋喺2024年咧就係呢一個數嚟嘅，1500幾萬。咁呢個咧就係1至3年嘅數嚟嘅。咁其實咧呢一度比起我哋舊年2023年咧，其實呢個相對都吻合啦。咁啊升咗33%。
It's really much because we have a growth
我
of
哋睇翻同最高峰嘅時候咧，2018年咧。
If we compare with 2018, we are still 33% less. Well, so the gap is pretty big. Again, if you look at air tickets, in 2024 from January to September, I am not looking at the amount of money, I'm only looking at the number of air tickets because the price of air tickets has dropped, so I would not look at the fare, I would just look at the number of air tickets. In 2024, we have about 5 million odd air tickets in total. Comparing last year on year, we have an increase of 30%. But if we compare with 2018, we are still falling short by 37%. If you are just looking at these figures directly, we are up to 70% of resumption in terms of outbound travel. Well, if you ask the travel agencies focusing on outbound travel, they will tell you that the business is only back to 60%, so they are still in great difficulties. So that was the first part of my sharing today, all about statistics. Do you have any questions? Anything you want to find out? Sorry, the audience is not speaking to a mic. Sorry, the audience is not speaking to a mic. The interpreter cannot hear. Just now we have compared mainland Chinese and overseas tourists. And most tourists from mainland China are coming from Guangdong province. For overseas market, most tourists are coming from I think we have a greatest growth of tourists in Thailand. If you are asking about proportion, in the past we have greatest number of tourists from Taiwan. It has dropped, but I think it still topped the list. But if you are looking at the growth level, it is actually dropping from the level of 2018. For the Middle East tourists, I think they are up to tens of thousands. It's not hundreds of thousands. North America, like Canada and the US, they are also higher. As for Europe, for a country like France is rather small in number. And you can also go to the official website of HKTB to find out a detailed statement. There is one thing that we are certain. We are seeing huge growth in Thailand and the Philippines. And the Japanese tourist is not increasing much. For markets like India, although the proportion of the total market is small, but the growth is pretty good. Any other questions? For tourists in mainland China and overseas country, how can we know how much they have spent? Well, these data are collected through survey. We will do survey at different and we also do survey about the areas of the spending, including food and beverages, hotel, purchase, etc. So we cannot say it is an absolute number. But over decades, we have always been tracking these trends through this methodology. So if you are just looking at the trend, we can rely on this methodology. would there be a sampling bias? Yeah, I do agree. Because sampling bias is certainly going to exist, but as I said, for years we are doing the survey in this methodology. So if you are just observing the trend, we can rely on this indicator because this is not something that we started just this year. If you ask those in the retail business, they can't tell you how much you have spent on what either. So traditionally, this is the way we do it. And we are welcome for new suggestions. As I said in the beginning, sometimes as the insider, we can't see the most clearly. So if you have new suggestions, feel free to voice out. The figure of spending is collected by HKTB. They have done different survey at different ports of exit. Finally, back to you. Let's talk about our challenges. The major challenge post-COVID is the change of traveling mode. In Hong Kong, we always rely on people coming for shopping, but this is not something that we can rely on anymore. As I said, Chinese tourists is up to 70% of our total number. So the change of their traveling mode will have great impact on our industry. Nowadays, people will not come just to do shopping. Well, in the past, when people come to Hong Kong, they would mainly do shopping and then to travel around. But now they are here to experience, to play. But of course, when you are traveling, you will always buy something, but that is not the major purpose. This is something that we have to take note of. And also, a lot of Chinese tourists come as a special force because there are abundant information. So when they come, they will try their best not to spend. They will know where to find free food. They will be able to acquire all this information on different social media platforms. Some even cross the line. They will take pride in doing this. They are not enjoying their stay here. They are just trying to enjoy this and trying to boast about it on their own social media account in order to attract followers. This is something that we need to follow. It is so easy for people to come and do shopping, but now it has changed. And sometimes people are looking for some in-depth traveling and some exploration. We don't have that many shoppers coming to Hong Kong because they can purchase things on different platforms. And also e-commerce and also Hainan Dao is another tax-free zone. During COVID, all over mainland China, people will do traveling within the country, even within the province. So sometimes they will not see coming to Hong Kong or even overseas countries as necessary. But now, central government is waiving a lot of visas of mainland travelers, and it is helpful to Hong Kong. And we also talk about one-stop and multiple destinations. Therefore, via Hong Kong, they can en route to many other locations. We also need to talk about manpower. We are short of manpower in different industries. As for the tourist industry, it impacts us greatly. The first and foremost influence is the quality of our service. In the past, maybe one waiter served 3 tables, but now it's 1 to 10. Therefore, the wait time will be much longer. So it is what people said as worsening, and it will also affect the overall experience of tourists. And because we have a shortage of manpower, the malls need to pay more to secure talents. The cost of salary is much higher, and it will increase the cost of doing business, and we have to increase our price inevitably, and it will also affect the desire to spend on the end of tourists. So we do need a lot of frontline staff. Even within the travel agency, we need people to receive phone calls, to be the receptionists, to host different tourists. During COVID, our whole industry is suspended, and many have changed their occupation. Well, because no one would expect COVID would last for 3 years. So after COVID, they're already doing pretty well in other industries, and they do not want to come back. So now we need to train other staff, and it was quite difficult. And also there are some geopolitical tension, just like Japanese tourists. Well, they are small in number because of many reasons, and one is because of geopolitical reasons. The Japanese tourists will tell us it is dangerous to come to Hong Kong. They would say that there are blockades in Hong Kong. They are still having the impression of who we are during 2019, during the social unrest time. So there are still a lot of inaccurate information from us to the tourists. So the HKTB have done a lot. They will invite the KOL, people in the industry from Japan, even corporate representatives to Hong Kong. We allow them to see it for themselves about our current situation so that they can spread the word. As we always said, seeing is believing. Well, because they won't be convinced just by our words. They need to come and see it for themselves. The overall economy is also worsening. Both inbound and outbound tourists have fewer money in their pockets, and that's why everybody is spending less. People are buying less items because they feel that they don't have that much money. The second is about the currency rate of Hong Kong dollars. If we are looking at inbound travelers, like Japanese tourists, when they come to Hong Kong, because yen is dropping drastically, and we will be glad if we are going to travel in Japan. The currency exchange rate has dropped by 20%, so it is a 20% increase on their spending, in other words. So especially for Japanese tourists, on one hand, they thought that Hong Kong is not safe. Secondly, Hong Kong dollars is also expensive to them. From the news yesterday, we also learned that Japanese tourists outbound Japanese tourists has dropped by 40% as a whole. Another angle is outbound travelers from Hong Kong. Well, in Hong Kong, there are many people going travel, but we still have a hard time working at a travel agency because they will not join our tour anymore. They will purchase every product directly. So comparatively, our business will be harmed. I believe that in our midst, there are some audience who are not from the industry. Indeed, I will always check the ticket price online, but in case anything goes wrong, if you have a travel agency to represent you, then you will be able to make changes much easier. Even in case of accidents like typhoon, you will be able to call the travel agency and serve you, and that is the kind of security that you can have from an agency. So much about challenges.
發展去點去轉機啦。嗱，呢
What are our opportunities?
我哋即係我諗到嘅一啲嘅其中嘅一啲
Here are
方式啊，
some
或者係一啲
opportunities that I can think
咁亦
of.
都當然請即係在座亦都好多經驗豐富啊！我
Well,
哋
I know many of you are very
大家
experienced.
覺得有啲咩分享咧，就可以
If you have anything that you would like to share, I would be eager to listen.
頭先睇翻第一樣嘢，其實每一個嘅發展轉機嘅機會，都係相對翻點解我哋嘅挑戰。
You know, every crisis is an opportunity. Our first challenge is about the change of traveling mode. Targeting at this challenge, we need to diversify our traveling product. At the beginning of tonight, there was a mini game doing Slido questions. Tony also asked me, is the attraction of Hong Kong still strong? I said it is strong. We are strong because, well, personally speaking, I know that we still have rich tourism resources, but in the past we don't need them. People will still come. And therefore, we did not develop our rich tourism resources. Product-wise, I believe that we have to diversify. Nowadays, we always talk about in-depth traveling. Why are people interested in that? Why are people still join your tour? Because you can tell the story. You are able to find fun facts, myths, legends, and background. Well, if they check out everything on Xiaohongshu, they are just taking photos for social media, it will be fine. But if they want to know about the behind-the-scenes story, they need to follow a tour. They need to follow a guide who knows how to tell the story. Actually, this March, TIC have organized a creative traveling competition. Many travel agencies have designed tours that are very interesting, and I learned a great deal from them. Maybe I can cite some examples. Well, some of them are talking about some delicacies in Hong Kong, nearby Central and Sheung You know, egg tart is very famous in Hong Kong. It's something that every tourist will try. But you know, even an egg tart is a fusion of the East and West, and it is also an intangible cultural heritage because the tart, that pastry, is a product of the West. Well, but the filling is the stewed egg, which is a Chinese recipe. Egg tart seems to be simple, but there are so many interesting stories behind. You know, we have a ritual of Da Xiu Yan in Organkyo, nearby Causeway Bay. You can always visit, but why is Organkyo the best spot of Da Xiu Yan? And that is to bring curse to those that are your enemies, and it is because they have a special triangle geographical location, and if you want to curse your enemies, it needs to be damp and dark, and Organkyo is the perfect spot because it fits all the criteria. So these are all the fun facts that you would otherwise not know. That's what I meant by in-depth travel. Likewise, is outbound travel. We have to go thematic, like medical travel, surgical travel, etc. But of course, there are mega events, concerts, etc. Cruise is also with great potentials. You know, we have 6 pandas in Hong Kong. So is there something that we can develop out of it? Since we have 6 pandas, we have a good vibe. But if we want to sustain it, we need to make effort. Otherwise, a few months later, the vibe might just die out. That's why we need to put effort into developing all these into a traveling product. Strengthen manpower training. Well, of course, we all know that we need to be polite, we need to do better in our service, we need to treat our tourists well. This is something that everybody knows. Within our industry, we seldom have new blood, young people. You know, it has always been us, and we have been in the business for decades. Therefore, we need to attract new blood, young people, I mean. While individual travel agencies may not be able to do much, therefore, as an organization, association, we have to take the initiative to work together with the universities and education institutions to train them and to encourage them to come into this industry. On the 31st of October, we have organized a ceremony. Around 40 young people have participated in this program, and they have some experience in different travel agencies. I think out of the 41, 2 to 3 of them have signed a contract. The proportion is not high, but I believe it's a good beginning. So this is what we can continue to do. So how can we target some specific market? Recently, people talk about the Muslim market. Are you aware of this figure? Over the world, we have up to 1.9 billion population who are Muslims. So the total population of the world is just about 8 billion, and they are 1/4 of the world's population. Surely it's a huge market, but we are not doing well enough. We don't have the facilities that they need. As Muslims come, they have a lot of requirements, and surely they are big spenders. In that religion, they have no birth control. So when they come, if they are just coming by one family, there will be dozens of them. So this is something that the travel agency can offer them. This is all about inbound traveling. As for outbound traveling, we need to look for new destinations. When people travel, they will go to Japan, Korea, and they don't need to rely on a travel agency. So we need to explore for new destinations like the Belt and Road, the ASEAN countries. These are some countries that is difficult for you to travel on your own, so you need to rely on the professionals to make arrangements for you, so that you will be able to experience more. So these are all things that we can do. Early on, we have also arranged for some field studies. We visited locations that no more travel agencies will not go. The first one is Guizhou. We are able to see Ting'an. These are some locations that is not that accessible because it's quite complicated to arrange for transportation, and this is the niche market for travel agency. And we also need to leverage on the edge offered by the central government. We have 10 new additional cities that can come without visa. And recently, we know that we are going to expand weekly visas to more cities in Guangzhou. So these are all the potential market that we can target on. We have to offer more for them. We also have a lot of geographical advantages. For countries like Indonesia in the Southeast Asia, when they come to Hong Kong, they will always go to China. Hong Kong is just one city, and our competitiveness will be much stronger if we pair up with a Chinese city. We can be complementary of each other because people would find it more economical if they can enjoy more by just coming to Hong Kong. So that is what we meant by one-stop multiple destinations. We also need to make good use of data and INT so that we know when to do what. As for today, you are here because you read about us from social media. So how can we make good use of different platforms and social media? Within the industry, there are many people who are great at doing media stuff. They will shoot their own videos, photographs, and produce it into a video clip. If it is just plain text, this is not attractive, but if it's videos, it will be very popular. In our recent program for the youth, we also assigned them to do multimedia assignments because this is their strength.
好啦，咁跟住咧，另外就係啦，又係咁講啦，咁其實好多時都唔使跟團啦，咁但係有一啲一定要跟喎。
Well, but there are some destinations that still rely on travel agencies, including the business trips and the study tour. Within the tourist industry,
通常佢哋都有做研學團。
Normally, those agencies who are doing well will also offer study tour and incentive travel. For instance, the insurance company will always allow for incentive travel, and those packages will cover gala dinner and many other features, which can only be covered by a travel agency. So these are some specific market that we can target at, especially those who are retired. They are pretty well off and they don't need to travel at peak season. They are quite flexible on dates. So these are all areas that we can further look into and to find further opportunities. I think that's all I would share. Let's see if you have anything else to add. Thank you, Fanny. Thank you, Fanny. I know you are all very eager to dialogue with Fanny. But I think we should take a group photo first because everybody is here. You don't need to move. We will take a photo from the front. How about thumbs up? Before Q&A, there is another section. After listening to Fanny's sharing, we also want to have a group discussion. For many years, we have been organizing for participatory planning. It's up to 3 to 4 hours. We will gather the general public to share thoughts. Are there any feedbacks that we want to give Fanny, the industry, the government, the chambers of commerce? It takes many hours, but we are really eager to have interactions with you all. Back then, in West Kowloon, we will have a group of cultural experts gathering together. And that is what we do as participatory planning. And these are the gimmicks or thoughts that we will collect and send back to the government. And we will also have some NGO in order to eliminate poverty. I'm not sure if this is something possible. How about we spend 10 minutes just among 2 to 3 next to you, try to come up with some new ideas as new measures to support the development of Hong Kong tourism industry. You don't need to come out and present, but at least you can get together and share. You are welcome to share as well. So just the 2 to 3 sitting nearby. Let's spend 10 minutes to chit-chat. Thank you very much. I know when we start brainstorming, it's really difficult to stop. Because this is who we are as Hong Kong people. We love to come up with new ideas. Although it may not be directly related to your own industry, in our midst there are some from the tourism from North, but we all know that tourism is one of the 4 major pillars in Hong Kong. People might say we have to go innovative, but not those labor-intensive industry. But still, we know that the tourism industry is supporting the livelihood of many. So what can we do? We trust that people cannot change the structure. Speaking of the structure, We are talking about geopolitical issues and social issues, change of habits of different tourists. But still, I believe that if we have new ideas, if we make some new moves, then gradually we will be able to change the structure. So that's why today we want to seize the opportunities to come up with new ideas, to make changes. If chance comes, I hope that we can organize more activities of this kind. So let's dive into the Q&A section. You can ask questions directly, or you may share what you have discussed. Anything you would like to share? Just now, within our group, we have talked about a unique structure in Hong Kong which is rarely mentioned. It's rather embarrassing because it is related to gambling. That is our horse racing. Last night is the international horse racing event for Longzhang. It's truly very festive. There is even firework. Well, of course, it's very international. Tourists from different countries would come, and that is what we call as East meets West in Hong Kong. If we can promote these kind of activities even further, if the tourists are able to see what happens behind the scene, like the horse training, it will be a good selling point. Absolutely agree. The Hong Kong Jockey Club has a target. They also want to increase the number of tourists. It is an internal KPI of HKJC. I absolutely agree with you. There are horse racings in many countries, but they are no match of Hong Kong. I know that we are stuck at certain points. Mainly it's because of the age restriction. When tourists come, they will always come with kids, and we want children to be involved as well. It is quite difficult. There are many counters for people to place a bet, and it is not open to the underage. But truly, this is a direction that we have, and it is also one of the KPI. I know that if we have a casino, we can attract a lot of people. Have we discussed? Well, just an idea. Well, honestly, we did not mention it to the government specifically. The government has a very detailed schedule about the Kai-Tak event timeline. I work in a hotel. If you have to plan package attracting people to Hong Kong, then you need to make announcements in advance, like when is Rugby 7, when is AIA Gala, and when do we have any special shows or concerts. So far, we have put together a Kai-Tak cruise terminal. Over the whole summer, there are only 3 cruises. As for the Kai-Tak sports park, there is only 1 foreign singer signing a contract to Hong Kong. For the rest, there is no schedule, and I can only guess. Well, we do have a mega event calendar, but of course, that is not just covering concerts. I know by mid-October, they have issued the mega events calendar for 2025. You will be able to check out on the website of TDC and HKTB. But I have to tell you, they may not cover all the concerts. This is the same questions that we asked. And that is, are you able to make announcement in advance? But for some commercial concerts, the organizers have specific requirements, or they do not want to disclose too early. They do not allow us to do any promotion. They have to plan according to their own marketing strategies. In Hong Kong, we have free flow of information. So we can't put any restrictions on them either. And that is why some can make announcements in advance. For the mega events calendar, you will be able to find the schedule of Rugby 7 in 2025. If the event is organized by the government, it can be included in the mega events calendar. For some purely commercial events, which is normally the most attractive one, they are not able to release in advance because of such reasons. Ecological tourism is something that is very popular. Hong Kong tourists also visit Taiwan and Europe for ecological tourism. Yes, this is very true. Well, one of the in-depth travel is to look at the hexagonal pillars and also the sea caves. For the study tour, this is also one of the major attractions for the students. We have beautiful mountains, oceans, and a little bit of history. So these are different elements that we can touch on for in-depth tourism. We have people from the conservation sector. There are a few things that we'd like to touch upon. Just now we have talked about a number of plans with potentials, but there is a gap that we need to resolve. If we do not resolve this gap, it will do us no help if we keep thinking of new plans. We are trying to think of new attractions to Hong Kong. Well, but how do we perceive our tourism? As the general public or as the younger generation, how do they perceive ourselves? How do we find Hong Kong an attractive city for tourists? I think this is something that we need to consider, because by investing into the tourism industry, we are not just about our generation. It's not about selling our hotel rooms, our tickets, etc. What we are lacking is happiness. We as Hong Kongers, we know what we have to attract others. Year 2004, we have been invited to work on the short haul promotion for Cathay Pacific. I have been a tour guide for ecological tours as a frontline staff. I do have a lot of experiences. Well, when we are in touch with the tourists in the country park, their feedback is very unique. Most importantly, we have to make Hong Kong memorable. If they just come to Hong Kong for a day or two, they just have some fun without any remarkable impression, then our investment is all in vain. Can we discuss about it? Can we think in long run? Can we shape our society so that we can be more competitive than the other surrounding cities? I think it's quite important, because as we travel, we are looking for an experience. We need different experiences when we are at different age. When we always want to find differences, no matter where we are and how old we are. So what can we offer as an inspiration? That was a very good question from the audience just now. When the tourists come to Hong Kong, they have to spend 2,000-3,000 per night. But what is the reason for them to come? This is a question that we need to answer. If we are just targeting some tourists who are traveling by express rail. They're just coming for a few hours and go. It is actually very contaminating. So how can we build up the competitiveness in Hong Kong? The most important question is, why do they want to come Hong Kong? Why do they want to stay for a bit longer? I think this is what I'm concerned the most. And also about ecological tourism. Perhaps funny, you can ask for more investment from the government. Many college graduates, especially the postgraduates or even the doctorate students, they will do research on the ecology and they want to develop more. I have been in this business for 20 years and there are many others who are with me for over a decade. We have the experience to sustain our attraction. For ecological tour, we need to focus on public safety. How can we nurture more tour guides, people who can present what they have learned? And we also need power control. This is what we are lacking. Therefore, I dare not to promote too much. Because our natural environment is a disaster at the moment. We spend much more effort clearing up our tourist spot than our effort in conservation. We spend more effort cleaning up the disaster than leading tour to learn about our ecology. We do not have enough resources and our professionalism is not up to the standard. Would you consider put more resources into doing research of this kind? So that the professionalism can be upgraded. Very well understood. Well, it is rather advanced. Just as someone from the tourism industry, maybe I can't respond to all your questions. It has to be discussed on a government level. We also need to connect with the universities and many grassroots organizations. There needs to be a lot of connection. Indeed, the tourism industry can make contributions, but we cannot single-handedly lead these endeavors. I agree with what you said. When we talk about in-depth traveling, we are asking for an experience. It's not just a photo taking. I am here yesterday. Well, I asked the questions that I should pose tonight. Why should the tourists come to Hong Kong? Because that is a unique market who are attracted to Hong Kong, and that is the overseas Chinese. They have the second generation and third generation Chinese. For the grandchildren of those who have immigrated to Canada, the United States, they have no understanding about China, and it is a sensitive issue in Hong Kong. So they want to come to Hong Kong because that is the hometown of their father or grandfather. When they come, they will stay in the hotel for a week or 10 days. It is all about in-depth traveling. But of course, some are more advanced and they can do the research. The reason why we need, what are the attractions of Hong Kong? Surely it is culture, sports and tourism. Well, you can go to Hong Kong Library to read books, or you can go to Argentina to learn tango. Why do we need to go to Argentina to learn about tango? Because that is a story behind. Well, culture, sports and tourism is not done by just one person, and we are sorry that that person is fired today. I am a businessman. I'm all about money. I have nothing to say if you opt up money. Tourism is a huge business because it involves a time-sharing property. You have 90,000 rooms. Well, it is impossible because when I first learned about this market, there were only 20 to 30,000 rooms. I'm not talking about absolute profit. Well, it is very easy for you to meet the target if you are just talking about the number of tourists. But I am asking about how can you curate inbound tourists. Let's say if you have an artist, if you have an idea teaching foreigners to learn about Cantonese opera. 50 years ago, we have 任劍輝白雪仙 and they don't need West Kowloon Cultural District. But of course, it's up to the government. It is a curation problem. Well, we want to focus on culture, sports and tourism, and all these required curation. If the government does not do their job, then you have to do it yourself. But you can't do much if you are all by yourself. It is quite difficult. I just want to spit it out. We all know about it. But you need to find a channel to convey it to the government. Second, if there are 1 to 2 travel agencies who can do business of the overseas Chinese, well, in Say Yup, there is someone called Hyson Lee, and that is a street named after him. Are you going to come and check it out? These are all about culture, and you can produce a lot of merchandises, packages, and catering. And this is up to the industry to brainstorm. As long as someone can break this frame, many would come. It doesn't matter if they are just special forces, but they need to tell story after taking photos as well. Well, I am telling you, the wife of Hyson Lee is from Say Yup, and there is a street that's named after her. How about you go check it out and eat there? So these are all about inbound tourists. But if you are focusing on outbound traveling, others will make money out of us. We have to be witty. And it really requires the industry to voice out our needs to the government. Yesterday, we have an engagement evening talking about cultural policy. The speaker last night said, the Taiwanese takes pride in their own products and they are willing to do storytelling, so that people will be attracted to them. And, well, how about a boost in our identity? I really dislike those tourists of low quality. Well, I mean those who are coming by multiple entry endorsement, they are tourists of low quality. They have low spending power. And if you want to enjoy the firework, you are blocked by all these tourists. Even local residents cannot enjoy it. I think we need to look for a venue for people to pay to display firework, and that is what we mean by spending. Hong Kong needs to distinguish ourselves with mainland China. We have the most number of Michelin restaurants per square, and we also sell the cheapest wine, both red wine and white wine. We can attract tourists from Korea, Taiwan, and China. When they see us selling bottled wine at just thousands of dollars, they would think it is crazy cheap. And we also have a lot of high quality restaurants, so you need to give them incentives. Last night we talked about cultural events. Although West Kowloon Cultural District has not finished building, but we still have a lot of events. You can purchase tickets anytime. But these are not mega events, and this is rarely spoken of. The mega events that people always talk about is heavily promoted. For the regular events, for the regular spending channels, they are under promoted. One time, I took a water taxi in Victoria Harbour, and that was so poor. That was so poor. You would feel as if you have been to some old and underrated B&B. But actually, Victoria Harbour is beautiful. Because you are doing things the other way round. If you have been to other countries like Netherlands and France, you know, Netherlands was the worst. It is smelly, but at least they put together some beautiful cruise. But Hong Kong can't even do it properly. Well, all over the world, we have a lot of successful cruise terminal because Hong Kong tourists will spend there. If you cannot attract local tourists, taxis will not go there. Now we have airside. I think the latest secretary for CSTB have to discuss with airside Makiki. How about we split the cost? How about we arrange for some van or limousines to send travelers there? Well, just now the audience has mentioned about the attraction for overseas Chinese. There are actually one potential, but I'm not sure if they enjoy it. If we can gather a few scholars to check out the cemetery, it will be a tour that is very difficult to sign up for because it is oversubscribed. Just to check out the cemetery in Hong Kong, including the Christian Chinese cemetery in Aberdeen. Well, but of course, many buried in the cemetery in Hong Kong are foreigners, but there are still a lot of stories. I'm not sure if it can attract many foreign tourists. If you bring the overseas Chinese to visit the cemetery in Aberdeen, you will discover that many buried there are actually coming from San Francisco or Australia. They came to Hong Kong to build up their own business and passed away here. There are countless of stories within just one cemetery. You can spend one day telling all these stories. Well, for those, you also know about the Tonghua Hospital Group, but I'm not sure if they are willing to open their premise to travel agency. You know, it is a private premise, so I'm not sure if they are willing to open their premise to you. Just now, our friend also talked about Michelin restaurants. Well, previously, he was talking about Tonghua Coffin Home. Well, actually, Tokyo has the most number of Michelin restaurants all over the world. In Hong Kong, we have a lot of delicacies. I don't know much about the Michelin star restaurant in Hong Kong. Well, generally speaking, as Hong Kong people, we know that the food has become poorer. I'm not talking about the service. One of the reasons is because of our legislature. We do not allow any fresh poultry except for chicken. I am not in the F&B business, but you can interview them. There are a number of restaurants who are famous for baby pigeon, and they said it is very difficult for them to create good food. Likewise is the roasted goose and roasted ducks. If they cannot get fresh goose or fresh ducks, then the food, the flavor will be greatly hampered. Thank you. I have a question for audience. By the end of last year, DIC and HKTV have organized a competition for the travel agencies creating in-depth travel. Anyone who tried to submit a proposal, were you shortlisted? No. Well, I created 10 different routes and it was all failed. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I analyzed about my failure. Well, because I cannot understand why they actually organize this event. They actually look for some very fancy tourist routes. It's not necessarily practical. Let's say you can travel on the sea by motorcycle. Well, from the perspective of a travel agency, how many tours can you organize per year? This is only one of them. I discovered that the intention of Tourism Commission is that just create something fancy. Just create something that is fancy enough to be called as a Hong Kong specialty, because they need a poster kit to show off to the world. Well, if the travel agency is thinking from the commercial perspective, the travel agency doesn't really care about doing publicity for the government. Travel agencies is all about making money. If they can money and at the same time do image boost for the Hong Kong government, then it will be win-win. But that is not the case. Now you only ask us to come up with a lot of different routes and to promote some highlights, but those packages cannot attract tourists, or the cost effectiveness is very poor. As a travel agency, do you know how many tourists do you need in order to make revenue, make profit? I think at least a dozen or 2 dozens. This is the minimum. The cost is still very high. For one bus, we need to fill in 60 people. Well, for head count cost, it will be up to 200. If you only have dozens of people, and if you want to allow them to travel around through a water motorcycle, or if you want to hire a tour guide, then how much are you going to charge them per head? Would they still find it very special? Would they come and pay for you because it is so special? I think it is very rare. So this is not good business plan. I think government is finding me fully. I have designed 10 routes for them. I think it is win-win. It is operable. But the government said, I don't really care if you can make money. Well, I just need good publicity. Therefore, I think we have collected a lot of opinions today, and we want to stay humble and do better. We understand that it is indeed difficult. It is difficult to do business in any industry, and we need all sides to work together. Business-wise, we have the travel agency, tourist boards, and hotel, but of course we still need the government support. Perhaps we have to all work harder and better together. I believe that we shall overcome. That is the heart of all of us in this industry. I know that we are recovering, but it is a difficult path. Well, I think we are all like cockroaches. We are very strong. Thank you very much for Fanny's sharing. This is the end of our program. So we do have a certain cost. We have a donation box outside. If you want to support us, you may put the donation inside the box, or you may WhatsApp me. We also want to collect your feedback. That is a questionnaire. Please just scan the QR code here. Feel free to scan the QR code and fill in the questionnaire. You can also make suggestions for future topics. And I will allow you for 5 minutes. And then we have also prepared for some refreshments. Feel free to stay behind, enjoy the food and chit-chat. The venue will be open, so it will take you only 5 minutes.